And let's ask Senator Peake. Senator Peake, 63, would that be elderly to you?
I'll just say this. I got a son who's in the law business right now, and he was describing his case to me in person yesterday, and he said, and the police went over and started talking to this old man. He was 60 years old. And I said, that is the kind of respect I get around here and on the radio station. It's not fair. And I'm going to have to contact somebody. We're going to see if we can't pass some laws about respecting elderly people or about to be elderly.
Well, we just remind listeners that despite his age, he is still a very spry man, Senator Peake.
Oh, my goodness. It never ends. Never ends.
No, it doesn't, does it? So let's talk about the, speaking of never ends, the process for the Lynchburg Republican primary. The party has certified the vote, the top three winners. You had Veronica Bratton, Marty Mischins, and Larry Taylor there. Now, and we spoke with the chairman of the party, Jeff Ryer, on Monday. He said they were pretty sure appeals were coming. In fact, they've already scheduled the next meeting of the State Central Committee. We have two appeals. Right now, we at least don't know the details of these. What can you tell us about what's happening?
Oh, Brian, thanks to my incredibly successful tenure as chairman of the Republican Party of Virginia, I no longer have any involvement whatsoever with State Central or the Republican Party of Virginia. So I do not know what is in those appeals. I can say that obviously one of the issues is going to be the sign that said only registered Republicans are allowed to vote, or something to that effect, which is just blatantly wrong, and it's actually illegal. There are no registered Republicans. So if that sign were accurate, there would be 0 votes because you cannot register as a Republican or a Democrat in Virginia. And so that sign being up is a major problem. And I've seen videos of it, but I've had people tell me that it actually said that it was paid for and authorized by the Lynchburg Republican City Committee. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I certainly hope that it wasn't, but somehow it was allowed to be put up. I understand they told them to take it down that night, the night before, and they did, and then it was put up again in the morning, and it was up while people were parking in line to vote. And not until an RPV official arrived after voting had begun, it was still up. And it's just insane that could have been put up and allowed to remain up. In reality, it's a crime. It's a misdemeanor. And we've seen this as I've been a party chair. I was party chair for 6 years. I've been on State Central. We know these things, that you can't do those things. You'll read about people will drop flyers in some states or some areas. Republicans vote on Tuesday, Democrats on Wednesday. Maybe it's funny, maybe it's a joke. It's actually a crime to tell someone that they can't vote when they can, to dissuade them from voting. And so that sign will, I am sure, be a part of whatever the appeal process is. And I would, and that's the main issue that I'm aware of. I remember Ryer was on your show earlier Monday, and he said, that we look at the overall picture of things, and I think it was just a horrible, horrible idea to have the campaign manager for one of the tickets be one of the 3 electoral board members overseeing the entire process, and in fact, running the entire process. As we say in the legal industry, you want to avoid the appearance of impropriety, and to have the campaign manager for one of the tickets determining provisional votes, determining who could vote provisionally, it is a very bad look. And
Well, and we should note that you're talking about former Councilman Jeff Helgeson.
yes, he was the campaign manager for the ticket, and he should not have been on one of the three people on the electoral board. He should not have been involved in setting it up or running it. Unless they put the campaign manager for the other ticket. You had the two gentlemen who were the common sense tickets. You had the Lynchburg ticket of Taylor, Reed, and Boswell. They could have had their campaign manager on it, and then maybe it balances out. But you can't pick one campaign manager who also happens to be the campaign manager for the city chairman. It was just a bad look.
By the way, we should note the sign that was put up and then, as I understand it, taken down at some point on Saturday says this: Lynchburg Republican City Committee Firehouse Primary, Republican Party membership required. Which is not the case, as the chairman said very specifically, is not the case.
So, Senator Peake, if you were still the head of the state GOP, how would you handle this? Like, how do you think?
They have a process, and it's you appoint two from each side, and then they're supposed to agree on an independent person, and they go through all of it. And so there's a process spelled out in the in our charter. We had one; it had already begun and had been done when they were trying to set aside the Virginia Beach chapter, and that was then it's a mess, and but they go through it, and they got to do it very quickly. I think that one of the other issues is the rumor that has been started is that Attorney General Jay Jones is going to get involved, and that will be interesting. And I remember Dwayne Yancey had asked about this. Somebody sent a letter, maybe it was Helmer, to the AG a long time ago, and he didn't do anything. And at that time I said, and you know what, I bet he's going to wait until it's too late for us to get people on the regular primary ballot, and then it's going to be difficult for us to get candidates certified to get on the ballot. And I'm afraid that may be what he's trying to do, so that ballots are already printed and we don't have certified candidates. And so that concerns me that what the Attorney General may do.
So he could issue a ruling, an opinion. It wouldn't be a ruling; it would be an opinion.
No,
wouldn't he take him to court?
File suit.
He would file a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He would file a lawsuit challenging the results of the primary, and then if he wins, then there would be no Republican candidates on the ballot.
I'm afraid that's what he might be trying to do, and I'm sure there's procedures, some way we could get our people on, but depends on when that's done. And that might be just me being a little paranoid.
Well,
but
yeah. And
at some point, wouldn't the party? Excuse me.
I don't trust Democrat Attorney General Jay Jones to do anything to help us, and he might not do anything. Maybe he thinks everything was fine.
Well, then, yeah, that would be the case. If that would be the case, you'd have to be defending the Firehouse primary.
Well, he's been asked for an opinion. If he wasn't going to do anything, he should have issued a statement. He was asked for an opinion that says everything was done fine, or he should file suit. Instead, he's waiting, keeping everything in limbo, and the longer it goes, the worse it gets for us getting our candidates on the ballot. So,
and don't you think
that's not what he's doing?
The Central Committee is probably considering that, because if they come down, if they are critical of the LRCC for the way the Firehouse primary was run, then they might find themselves, though, if the Attorney General says it was illegal, they're going to have to be in the position of defending it in court, right?
Might be the Lynchburg Republicans who would be defending it.
But I mean,
the
state central, it wouldn't be a good look if the state central is telling you, hey, this was illegal, and then it's taken to court. They can't even defend it.
Well, Senator, let me ask you this. What does State Central think, do you acknowledge, about this process? I mean, I kind of wonder if there are people there who would just as soon not see this go on, and they might have their thumb on the scale against the Lynchburg Republicans.
Well, I don't know the makeup of State Central, where they stand on this issue, because we've never didn't vote on it while I was there, and I don't guess they have voted on it. I would just say I don't know, this law went into effect at least a year or two ago. We got about 133 units, and this is the very first time that any unit has tried this. And I think it's safe to say that the RPV and their counsel have advised people, other units who have looked at trying to do this. It is very difficult. You can mess it up very easily. It can be overturned, and you could end up having very real problems getting your people on the ballot. So I think the advice has been it is very difficult to do. It's a very small needle that you have to thread, and you better be very careful.
Is there some point at this where if it ends up in court and time is of the essence that the party either at the state or local level would pick?
I think that's possible, yes.
So it will not be this Saturday, but next Saturday when the State Central Committee meets to discuss this?
That's correct. And I'm not sure. I know they're meeting on June 13th because when they adjourn this Saturday, they adjourn till June 13th. Now, the question is they appoint a 5-person committee, and I think they're supposed to make a recommendation. So I assume that stuff will be happening from now until then, and then that committee makes a recommendation on June 13th, a committee of 5. But that is my assumption. I do not know. But they've got to do it pretty quickly. So if they're going to, the committee of 5 makes a decision and then presents it to the entire committee. That's how the process works. And so if they're having the entire committee on the 13th, I guess they've got to decide that committee of 5 pretty quickly. That's a guess. You have to get somebody from RPV to fully inform you on that.
Well, let's talk about another topic here. We were just speaking with the Vice Mayor of Lynchburg, Kurt Deemer, about flock cameras. The city is using these automated license plate readers. They want to get more of them. Is the oversight enough? The State Crime Commission is not happy with how they've been used, with some agencies keeping the data too long, sharing it when they shouldn't, or just not telling them what's going on. It appears that there will be an effort to tighten the rules on the use of these things in the next session of the General Assembly. What do you think the General Assembly ought to do about the use of flock cameras?
Well, that's been a big issue for the last several years, and that was a great interview with Vice Mayor Kurt Deemer. I share, I'm more complimenting Vice Mayor Kurt Deemer than you. No, it was excellent. It was very informative. And we've been doing the same thing at the state level for the past several years. That's why the Crime Commission is getting these studies. And it's interesting. You've got people like me who are very, very pro-law enforcement. I would say one of the most pro-law enforcement people in the Senate. And you also have people like me who are very libertarian, who are very concerned about our rights and our constitutional rights. And then you have some very liberal Democrats who are also very worried about our constitutional rights. And I think one of the reasons probably why you saw Charlottesville limit these things is probably because they don't want them cooperating or afraid that they might cooperate with ICE on illegal immigration and things like that. Originally, there really are no guidelines. There are no mandates for how long they keep these things. I think there's an attorney general's opinion. And so we would have a bill come up that would put in some guidelines. And then you have the law enforcement who don't want any guidelines. You have some libertarians and some ACLU people who want guidelines. And then you have some who just don't want to approve them, who are really against them completely and don't think we should have a law approving them. The problem is they're being used with nothing. And so you've got people on all sides of this issue, and it's not, not a normal Republican Democrat. It's you can have very liberal ACLU types with very conservative libertarian types on this. And then you've also got the pro-law enforcement. We have come close a couple of times, license plate readers. It's just very intrusive, and I brought the bills on the speed cameras. They're giving tickets with speed cameras. The amount of money localities are making on just these speed camera tickets. You've got license plate readers everywhere. Now, I spoke out a couple of years ago, and I had to meet with our Lynchburg police, who explained how effective these things are. Same with our Bedford-Campbell County departments, law enforcement. They use them, and I understand it, and they are helpful. But, I mean, if the police were able to walk in every house and do a search, they would probably make a lot more drug busts than they do. And that's why we have the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I just don't like the idea of them being able to track the movement. And as Kurt Deemer said, it's one thing when you got a sound microphone or whatever, but they can take your car and follow you, and they do, and they're doing it now. And if you remember when the news reporter got shot at Smith Mountain Lake, I mean, they had those things. They knew where that car was and got him on 81. And so they are very useful. But they can also be easily used for improper purposes if the proper guardrails are not in place. And, I mean, I don't want the government tracking my car to see how often I go to the cigar store or whatever. It's just, you want them knowing everywhere you go in the city, and then it's not just in the city, it's on the highways, it's on the interstates, it's everywhere.
All right, we will leave it there for this morning. State Senator Mark Peake, thank you for joining us. We'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
We'll talk about the budget soon.
Let's do it.